Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the check-in, our daily check-in here at Heal Your Way Forward, also known as Check Your Privilege. I'm Maisha T. Hill, grateful to be live with each and every one of you. I go live twice a day, building up my own resiliency and fortitude to show up for myself and to show up for the collective in a new way, in a way that people aren't used to seeing. And I'm really grateful for it. And so I'm talking to Substack family, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So thank you all for being here this morning. I want to start as usual with your body sensations. If you could just describe a body sensation this morning, just if you were just take a minute to close your eyes if you can. And if you can access feelings in your body, or even if you can think of a word, that's fair. I would love to hear what's alive for you today. Just a body sensation or a word. Hey, Abia. If you had a body sensation or a word to describe what you're feeling today, what would that be? Um, I'm actually starting to get a headache and some tooth pain. So my body, I feel like tingling and tightness. Um, so that's my body sensation is I'm feeling tingling and tight. And Sam saying that they feel sad and heartbroken. Anyone else have a word? Hey, Sarah. There's two Sarahs here. Well, hello. Does anyone else have a word to describe what their body feels or what their head feels today? We got breath and movement. Thank you, Abia. All right. Well, here we go. There's no right or wrong answer, by the way, either. Wherever you are, that's okay too. But I think the invitation, I feel very slowed down and the need to really help folks tense. Thank you. Come home to themselves. I think one of the things I'm always constantly thinking about is I didn't realize I'm trying to move y'all closer here. One of the things I'm often thinking about, gentle heaviness. One of the things I'm often thinking about is what fuels our feelings, what fuels where we are today. And today I want to just talk just a little bit about our relationship with perfection and control. I'm going to see what I did with my notes that fast. That's really been sitting with me is perfection and control. And if you are on our Substack, that was today's Substack newsletter for Heal Your Way Forward. I talked about Addiction to Whiteness Part 2, about perfectionism being a cage with pretty walls. And it makes me think of the concept of birdcage oppression. Usually when I like teaching, I have like what I really want to talk about. I have a sheet in front of me, but I don't have it in front of me. I can't screen share this today. But there is a book from 2000 on gender basics, feminist perspectives of women and men from 2000. And Marilyn Fry wrote this idea around oppression. And this was the first, hey Lisa, this was the first Saturday school that I taught for Check Your Privilege. And it was about oppression. And it was about um, excuse me for 1 second. I had to block somebody on Instagram, and I hope I'm still live there. It was on oppression, and it was on, I believe I am. Hi, Instagram fam. I hope you can still see me. It was on oppression, and it was on identifying if we were all oppressed. And I remember asking all the white women who took this class the first time, I said, you do know you're oppressed? And they were like, no, we're not oppressed. And I was like, what do you mean you're not oppressed? Like that was where my head was like, what do you mean you're not oppressed? What? Because you are oppressed, and the way that all of us are oppressed, you're just not as marginally oppressed as Black, Indigenous, and bodies of culture. And so, what I love about this idea of birdcage oppression, which was the motivation behind today's graphic on Substack, if you took a look at it, It's a cage that's empty with a windowsill with light coming in with beautiful flowers and a beautiful wall, because that is how we cage ourselves in, and we surround ourselves for beauty to give the illusion of control or the illusion of perfection. And so when this article came up, I'm thinking about, what was my thing, right? I thought about being good enough, saying it right enough, being pretty enough, cleaning up fast enough. Um, then I wouldn't like feel harm. I could avoid conflict, and I'd like get to belong, right? So I did all of these things that would make me good and safe, but it was part of the perfectionism. It was part of the awards, right? Like you guys remember getting the perfect attendance awards? It was all part of that to kind of fuel being perfect and fuel being seen. And as I think more about, perfectionism and think about how it's tied to control and how it's a tool of white supremacy and how perfectionism and control can keep us stuck instead of moving forward, right? And we see that happening now, how perfectionism and control can be tools to keep us stuck and keep us from moving forward. And we see that right now, right? Specifically with people in white bodies, like you have no control over what's happening. And so it's, well, what do I do? Oh my gosh, who do I listen to? Where do I go? Like it's the grief of not knowing. Um, and I will have to say, as a Black woman, welcome to the world. What you're experiencing is what it feels like to be Black every day, where you aren't in control, but you're stretching for control and you're reaching for control. But control is not, it's just not there, right? And so control and perfectionism keep us stuck. It's married to shame. If there was a circle, it would be like perfectionism, control, and shame. If I were to think about how we were groomed as children, we were groomed around shame, perfectionism, and control, right? And it's we don't want to feel the shame, so we stick to perfectionism. Um, and it's conditioned by white supremacy culture because your mistakes make you unworthy. There's only one right way to be, and you only fit in if you're polished, palatable, and prepared. You don't fit in, going outside like this is not acceptable. Um, and so we have to think of, I shared last week on Substack, Judith Katz's work on aspects and assumptions of white culture in the United States, right? The white men have set the beauty standards, the intelligence standards, the professionalism standards, and standards of worth. And so colonization and perfectionism were designed to get rid of indigenous cultures' ways of being, just simply presence, what they consider messy, sloppy, recleansing of the soul and spirit, controlling the narrative. It's designed. It's when you say, "Oh, I don't want to mess this up." It's when you say, "Oh, well, I should be suffering because I'm a white person." That's centering yourself, and I'm going to ask y'all to stop saying that. Like, and I'm hoping that what we're going through right now as a collective, that you all are realizing that this is a healing journey, and it's not about self-flagellation and self-centering. It's really about turning the light on your shame and doing that deep healing work to remember who you were before you were white, before your ancestors were white, because a lot of your ancestors had to assimilate into this white culture here in America to survive, period. So you have to recall the memory, you have to remember so that you can go forward. And so we have to start imagining a new way outside of perfectionism and control, right? And that looks like thinking about these kind of three reflection questions, which is, how is perfectionism showing up in your liberation journey? How is perfection showing up in your relationships? And how is perfectionism showing up in the collective? Why does waiting for perfect keep the systems in place? This is what I'm sitting with. Why does waiting to be perfect keep these systems in place? Because we always need a strategy and a plan. Who did we learn we need a strategy and a plan from? Because in indigenous ways of knowing, you could strategize and have a plan, but sometimes you have to trust the vision of the elders because they might see something you don't see. But in a white supremacist world, that's dangerous because it can easily move into cult like thinking brand bias, etc. And then what does it look like to release control and choose progress over perfection? And these are all things just to consider as you move through your day today or this week, because that's kind of the Substack. I do it once a week on Wednesdays. Where's control showing up for you? How is it stifling your journey? How can you let go? Can we be real? Like, we can talk to our governments about Palestine and the genocides all over the world. We can't control them. It's all out of our control. And what's helped me is I keep telling you, light a candle. Go to your local Dollar Tree, get you a candle, get you some little holders, and you got to have a candle for Congo, Sudan, Tigray, Myanmar, Gaza, fucking freedom of speech. I wish I had the Check Your Privilege account just so I can pull those lives where I said 2 years ago, hey, we're about to lose our freedom of speech. It might be on my phone, but we're actually getting into a moment. I would say by the time I'm in my like 50s, freedom of speech will be very limited, right? So then what are we going to do? How do we resist? You have to start forming your own underground railroads, and you have to start figuring out what that looks like, but they will not be perfect. And if people are not getting in collective communities, when I say collective communities, I'm talking about spaces where we are learning, where we are finding joy, where we are in pursuit of liberation and dreaming together and creating together, where it's not just centered on one person's experience, but it does center Black and Indigenous and bodies of culture. We're going to keep having these same problems. And as one of many people that leads a space that is centered in Black liberation and pro-Black solidarity, yeah, no, we're in trouble, friends. I'm going to read some of the comments from Substack. We have Sam says, I am connecting control and power to resistance to learning new ways of being. The resistance of learning new ways of being. Yeah, that's a good one. Perfectionism stifles creativity, Sarah says. Abia says, perfectionism is a harness. Absolutely. Sam says, any small action that has meaning. Katie shares that perfectionism and control keep me in shame and taking reparative steps at times, and that's all white supremacy. I just want to say something about repair that I've been working with someone, a colleague, and we were talking, and she's like, Maisha, remember, you know this, repair is not promised. And I was like, oh shit, that's right, because people are in choice. One thing I want to tell people in white bodies that repair is possible, but you also have to be okay with people if people don't want to repair. And it's not a reflection of you, it's just a reflection of the choices that people have to make in their lives. So I dream of a reparative future, and also I have to make space for moments where that's not possible. So how do you move in that energy, Maisha? I've lost lots of friends these last 5 years. It kind of goes to me. When I reach out, they left me on read. So I did my reparative action, but I have to let go of those relationships, if that's helpful. So when I dream of repair, it's I'm going to make my move, take my steps. And then if it's not reciprocated, I did my repair. I attempted repair, if that makes sense. Doesn't mean I'm a failure. And that's where the system has us messed up is we think we are owed repaired, which I know you're not owed anything. That's where the supremacy system thinks that, oh, you're owed this and you have a right to this. The same system that has told us we have our rights are slowly starting to take our rights away. The same system that says you have the right to free speech is slowly starting to pull those back through job terminations. The system doesn't want repair or attempts of repair because it's functioning the way it wants to function. And you have to start building parallel systems. You have to start being in it and not of it. And yes, Katie, offer without expectation. Absolutely. Even offer of repair, like let's think about that language because that for me, that could easily go into I offered a repair, but they didn't get back to me. See, this is why this language and how we've been coded with language. For me, it's I'm present for repair because if I use the word offer, what happens when that offer is not received? It takes us back into the ego. It takes us back into the I'm not good enough. I made the offer and they. So we have to like start shifting words and language, or like Sam says, make some words up. Make some words up. Something you got. If you've been working with me over these years, and you've seen, I'll just make up words. Like I just made up a word, and it might even be a word, but it has my own definition. It's called an upturn. What's an upturn, Maisha? I was typing and I thought I said you, but I hit the P and it said upturn. I'm like, oh, an upturn is when things don't go right. You take a breath, you look up, and you think like, okay, I need a new strategy. Think of a new strategy. That's an upturn, up and turn. But for me, when I start to think about how I offered something to someone and it was not received, I could easily take me back to a shame spiral, you know? So for me, it's, I want to be present. I want to be present for repair and accept that repair is not possible. Like I'm constantly reframing in real time. I want to be present. And if it's not available, that's fine. I feel good knowing I was available. Does that make sense? Like I feel amazing knowing that I made myself available. And the door does not close because just because it doesn't happen today doesn't mean it can't happen in 5 years. Because because it's like I am present for repair. So I am present that the repair might not happen in 2 weeks. It might happen in 20 years, but I am present for the possibility. And in this system, this carceral punitive system, nah, it's like once you did some shit, that's why people fight so hard to get their records expunged. You know what I'm saying? People want to get their records expunged because the system will hold on to it. So then you can't find a job and then you can't. It's layers to be alive and moving in a being in this system. And we guilt ourselves for those moments that we can just be. So we have to take the hands off and let go of control, even with repair. Control means thinking about, I have this chart in one of my stores. I need to put in my new store. It's called the Circle of Control. So if you were to, let's say this is your circle of control. This is your circle of control. I didn't need a colored marker. The little dot in the center is what you can control. You see that little, it's kind of a little dot. Imagine there's a dot. Everything in this big part is out of your control. The only thing you can control is what's in the middle, and that's you. And that's your heart, and that's your spirit. You can't control anything outside the circle. And that's what happens is that, we don't even see how we're trying to control. Oh, look, this is a better example. See that little dot? That little dot is everything you can control. Let me show it to y'all here. See that little dot in there? That little dot is your circle of control. That's you. What impacts you, what you take in, what you read, what you allow in your gateways. Everything outside that dot is out of your control. So for me, what's out of my control? Genocide. What's out of my control? Ending the free speech. They're going to do it. And I think that's why Harriet Tubman has been coming up for me so much, is because she's trying to remind me it's time to go underground. Because if things I say show up 2 years later, start making shifts. Let go of control. I'm showing up every day to let go of the control of I was digitally erased. I'm not erased. I'm still here. I can keep showing up. Letting go of the ego and the idea that, oh, I don't have a big platform, so who cares? I care. Letting go of the controlling thoughts. I don't need to be perfect. I can show up on my live with my head wrapped and fully confident. Right? Controlling outcomes. Sometimes we think about repair, we think about controlling the outcome of repair. You can't. Wanting to control is also, yes, Abia, I love this. I just looked over, saw down. Codependency. Codependency are subtle, I call it codependent rugged individualism. And it's the subtle ways that you are building community, but it's actually a form of manipulation to get what you want. That's also why you have to be careful with repair, because sometimes repair could be you unconsciously, I'm just going to say unconsciously, wanting to manipulate the outcome of a situation. And who did we learn that from? If you look at all these movies, like with these old white men from the 1800s with the wigs, where do you think we learned how to be so cold-hearted and manipulated from? That's not a quality of Africa. As a Black woman, that's something that was learned and passed down over time. And it's a historical fact. You can look at history and what were most indigenous populations doing before these folks showed up, pillaged their areas, forced them into something. What was happening before that? What's the story before? Definitely wasn't how we are as humans now. So, as we just kind of think about this day and think of oppression, how can we uncage ourselves? How do we release ourselves from the bird cage of oppression? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Can you even imagine it? It's hard for a lot of folks to imagine things right now, too. It's hard to visualize something different when we're in the world that we're in right now. And I get it. And also, I appreciate the words of Ebony Janice, who says to dream ourselves free. And the words of Dr. Nicole Rawls around abolitionist dreamscapes. Is your work rooted in abolition, or is it rooted in punitive control, shame, and perfectionism? The moment that people in white bodies recognize that you're just in a shame spiral right now, trying to control things to fuel your relationship with perfectionism, you'll get yourself free. But right now, you all are stuck in your own suffering and control. And you know it's control because you're cutting people off because they don't agree with what you agree in. There's going to be a time that's coming where you're going to have to learn how to be with people who you don't agree with, because the people who you don't agree with may have something that you need. Because I'm not going to lie to you, if someone told me I had cancer and the only person who could cure me was somebody with a totally different belief system with me and they were open to curing me, I would go to that person. The way that they're cutting vaccines and medication, and we are going to need each other outside of what they are showing us on the news and what people are doing on the internet. And we're going to need each other. They're already showing us what they can do with their military. The fact that I have to go get 2 small children ID cards, but real ID cards, and make sure everyone's passport is up to date, out of fear that in the next year, if I get stopped, do you have are you an American citizen? Just think about that for a minute. They're already showing us what they can do with the military. We are going to need each other. There's going to come a point in your journey where you're going to have to let go of control, let go of shame, let go of perfectionism. We're going to have to learn to be present with one another, even if we don't agree. And it's going to take practice. So if you are, our collective is opening up, I think in 3 days, you're going to be able to join us. And the collective group, we facilitate that new cycle in like 3 weeks. And so I'm saying all of this to tell you all um, to start working on your relationship with shame, grief, control, and perfectionism. Heal that up, please. We had a whole chapter on shame and Heal Your Way Forward. We've sold 30 books for our 30, oh, they're behind me. We sold 30 books for our 3,000 books in 30 days. I'm so proud. I'm so grateful. I am going to step up the campaign. My goal for the weekend, over the weekend, is to do 100 books. So you'll probably see me live a little bit more. If you work at an organization, I have a flyer. If you are interested in passing it on to your work, maybe your work wants to put in some orders. But yeah, I got some pressing things going on, and I was like, you know what? Two options: you can buy a book, or donate how you can. A couple other announcements: we're about to bring back White Bodies for Action. I'm going to be bringing that back. Is this the third Wednesday? I hope it's not this week. We're going to be bringing that back. We called it White Bodies for Action, but we're going to shift it to White Bodies for Impact. And so also going to be working on the report of how much we raised this year. I think it's like $22,000, and I believe 50%, 50 to 75% of what we raised have gone to. It's like 30% is this, 40% is like Black and Indigenous. Like it's like a really close, even number, because there was also LGBTQ, trans, disabled. So like it's really, really kind of cool when we type it up. But we got a couple of things coming down the pipeline, so we'll do a White Bodies for Collective Impact. Probably next Wednesday. It'll be open for all, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for sharing about me and my work. I appreciate that. I love that. Yeah, so got a lot of great things in the pipeline. I have something that is coming that I'm super excited about in October. So, yeah, it's a lot of big changes coming, and really, really grateful. I need to write that down. I can make sure. So yeah, it's a lot of updates we're making, a lot of shifts. But like for the first time, I want to be really honest with everyone. It feels amazing to just show up and respond and not react. I think 2020 was a lot of reacting to the moment, and it feels really good to respond to the moment and to just sit back. Like I'm like just sitting back in observation, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is. I really wish everyone could just see from my perspective. Like I wish that I could see from your perspective. And I think I'm tapping into what everyone's feeling. Um, so let's see. Thank you, Abia. Slow and steady, man. It's so much. And it's like, how you're in that spaciousness of, oh, it's coming. You see it. And then this is like the eclipse season, right? But it's like, oh, shut that down, shut that down, shut that down, shut that down. In that, like it's like just end it, right? And so funny. I was just sitting here like, oh my God, check your privilege is gone. It's like, no, it's always here. Um, I'll get that account back. Someone's gonna know. Someone will be like, what happened? Oh, let's just turn that back on. But when it turns on, it is what it is, you know? Um, but I really feel the shift. Um, so I really am excited around somatic liberation, somatic mindfulness. Um, we really need to slow down. I even find when I'm speaking, like I don't have any interest in, yeah, just learning what I'm learning about the body and my own body after being sick and slowly recovering. There's so much. There's so much, friends. So thank you for tuning in. Consider, if you can, supporting the Heal Your Way Forward gift packs. I'm actually adding to them. I need to go to the Dollar Tree because I was thinking about doing a candle too. Um, but I need to find packaging. What is the packaging to ship a book, a candle, and I have some tea here, but I can't ship you guys my handmade tea because I need a license for that. But I am thinking of doing a candle. So I'll be going down to the Dollar Tree to look at some candles in a few hours. Dollar Tree is amazing. I love it. It brings me so much joy. But yes, Abia, we are shifting together in solidarity. We are showing up for each other. We are calling things as they need to be. We are speaking into a new reality as the old one is dying. I think that's what else is happening is that I'm watching the system crumble and I'm not up in it. You know, I'm not really watching the news. I get the news, I look for myself, and I light my candles. It's too much. So I'm in a space of identifying what is my role in the collective. It's still teacher, it's still guide, but I don't want to have to dysregulate people's nervous systems to be present. I don't want to have to flagellate people. If I have to flagellate you, I don't know if you're my people. I could give you an example too. I can get on the internet right now and tell white people how horrible they are. And oh my God. But when you step away from that, I don't have to tell you how horrible you are. But when you do the opposite, which is not fear based, but love based, it moves a lot slower. And I'm okay with that. I want my work to be about love. Like I say, like, I don't want to be known for who I am. I want my work to speak for itself. That's why I got to write some more books, even if I don't have a publisher. I'm just going to publish my own books at this point. Like, I want my work to be about healing. That's what Bell Hooks says, and that's all I want. This work should be rooted in love, and love is, in fact, the work. Love is the work. Love is the work. It is. It all this other stuff we're over here doing, shaming each other, calling each other out, throwing each other away. I'm just like, if that works for you, it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked this long, but we're still doing it. We're still oppressing each other. And like I know I get on one with this, but like we're moving towards freedom and liberation, but we're still making up the same rules. There are rules to follow to be in the social justice world. And I've never been a rule follower. I don't have rules and that we have agreements and we move with the agreements as a collective. It's not what Maisha T. Hill wants, Maisha T. Hill thinks. It's none of that. And that's again, so I don't have Patreon. Y'all not gonna wait for me to drop some articles for you all to feel like you're paying for it. No, we're gonna do this together. You're gonna pay for your subscription, but you're gonna show up. And if you choose not to show up, that's gonna be on you. Agreements work for me. Agreements with my children, agreements with people in my family, agreements, not rules, agreements. Because agreements, when an agreement is broken, you can repair it. When a rule is broken, it often comes with what? When you break a rule, when I grew up in school, detention, punishment. A, a punishment. Rules come with punishment. Agreements, depending on where you are, can be reparative. Rules can be reparative, I guess. I'm totally done with the system though that we live in. So I'm just watching, and I'm watching everyone, and I'm just like, wow, I hope we all remember what it means to be human again. I was thinking in November, I teach a workshop I haven't taught in years, and it's radical self-compassion in a white supremacist world. I might put that up for November. Stay tuned. I know I'm doing October. I have Addiction to Whiteness. For those who are interested in classes, Addiction to Whiteness is Friday and the last Tuesday of the month. And then we'll have Addiction to Whiteness twice in October, followed by my Radical Self-Compassion in November, and some other cool things. So thank you all for all the ways you support and join us in the work, whether you're on Substack, the Collective online, Direct Compassionate Communication. We're just super grateful for you. I hope you all have a great, beautiful day. I am going to drink some water.